Hi guys, it's BJ here. Welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to import a CSV file into your PostgreSQL database. So someone specifically requested for this video. Now, for the purpose of this video, we'll be making use of three tools and I'll be explaining each and every one of them. So we are currently on the pgadmin interface, which is currently connected to the PostgreSQL server. So this is where we'll be creating our database, and we also be making use of this software called DBeaver. This DBeaver is a software that enables us to connect to multiple databases. So let me just give you an instance. Let's assume that you have about 4 databases on your PC, and instead of you going from one database to the other to query the database, you can do all that from this DBeaver. So it gives us access to multiple databases to connect. So I'm going to show you that as well. And for the last, we have this VS Code here. With this VS Code, we'll be connecting to this database here. So the summary of this is that we'll be creating the database in this pgadmin. Then we'll be importing the table or a CSV file into this database, which we are going to create. We are going to use VS Code DB extension to connect to this database here. So let's start, guys. So the first step of this is that once I assume that you have already installed PostgreSQL onto your machine, and as well as DBeaver and VS Code. For the purpose of installing this Postgres server, I'll be providing a link, and as well for this DBeaver and as well for VS Code. And for this DBeaver, you need Java runtime to be able to install it, because the app was developed with Java. It was developed in Java programming language, so you need a Java runtime to install it. So I'll be providing the link for that as well. Okay, so guys, let's start. So the first step of this is to create our database. So click on this, and on the database, right click on it and click create. So now I'll be using a Netflix user table. That is a Netflix dataset. So for the purpose of this video, that's what I'll be using. So now let's create our database name. So Netflix underscore test and click save. Now we have created our database and it's currently connected from this here. There's currently no table in this database here. If I were to go under this schema and table, it is currently empty. We'll be importing this dataset into this database here with the head of this DBeaver. We have created our database. Let's head over to our DBeaver. So click on DBeaver. To connect to this database and import that table, we have to create a project. So if you first install this DBeaver and you did not see this here, just click on this Windows and click on this project here. So that's when it's going to bring out this. Click on this create to create a new project. Now the project name is going to be Netflix underscore test. So we are making this to match our database so that we are going to know that, okay, this is the current project and this database we are working on. So click finish. And so that's that. So now on this Netflix test, just click this arrow here, and on the connection, just right click on it and click create connection. So from what I said earlier, I said it gives us access to connect to multiple databases. That means you can have about 4 databases, and instead of you moving from one database editor to the other, you can all manage your project from this DBeaver here. So it gives us access to connect to multiple databases. And if it's your first time connecting to a particular database, it will prompt you to download the database connector. So since this is not my first time, that's why it's not requesting that. So now click on Postgres, since we want to connect to a Postgres database. So Postgres. And now, so while creating or while installing your PostgreSQL server, there is a particular side that is going to request that you input your username. So by default, it is Postgres. And also it will prompt you to put a password, so you can set any password that you like. But since this is a local host, so it's not that sensitive to security, except you are connecting to a production database. So that's why you might be concerned about security. So now, for this here, we want to connect to our to our Netflix test. So it's case sensitive. Be sure that you type everything accurately, or else it's not going to connect. So that will be for our database. And for the host, you can either use 127.0.0.1, which is also the local host, or you can denote it as localhost. So it works either way. So now we want to connect to our Netflix test database. The password to enter the database is the one you set during the installation of the database. Put the password. Okay. So now click on this test connection. So I want to test if this connection is currently connected to our database. So click on test connection. You can see we are currently connected to our database here. With this connected, we have gained access to our database. Okay, now so let's import our table into this database. So click on the arrow, then database, Netflix, schema, public, and on table. Just right click on it and select import data. So now from this here, just click import from CSV file and click browse. So then select your dataset. It works for any dataset as long as it's a CSV file. So click on Netflix users. So since we are bringing our dataset, click on next. And also let me show you something, guys. There are times that while importing this database, you might come across some errors. So, and the most likely errors which you can likely come across is that we have some data type in SQL. So we have the text data type, and we also have the variable length or var data type. So that var means the number of characters that can enter into a particular column for a text column. So with the var, you can set that while creating the table. Let me give you an instance. Okay, now let's assume that you want to create a table in your database. For the numeric column, you set it as int, and for the floating point column, you set it as double. So, and for the text column, since if you know the maximum number of characters, let me give you an instance, like USA, New York City is NYC. And if you can set for that particular column to only accept maybe 3 characters, so it's going to be var 3 while setting that constraint for that column. But if you don't know the actual size of that column, like in the terms of a Gmail and name address, it's always best to use text data type. So if you come across such error, so just click on configure. As you can see, these are our columns in the data set. So for here, you can see that the data type for user ID is integer, then followed by varchar, which is 50. As you can see, if this name is more than 50 characters, it's going to return an error for integer, for varchar. So now, if you see or you notice that a particular column, the character there is more than the constraint for that column, so just click on this here, or for that particular column which is experiencing that issue, and then change the data type from this to text. So that's the only issue I've experienced while trying to import data from this our DBeaver into the pgadmin or the PostgreSQL server. So that's the only issue I've come across. So, and this is the way to resolve it. So now, since our data, the length of our data is not that, so we can just proceed. And if you didn't experience issue while trying to upload it for the first time, then you can proceed with it. But if you are to experience any issue, just read through the fine print of that issue and then click on configure. Then try to change that data type for that particular column to text if it's a varchar issue. So that's the only issue I've come across. Okay, so now let's proceed. So we have already selected our CSV file, then click next and click proceed. So this is where the issue will likely come up. If it didn't load fully, it's going to throw that issue here. It's going to throw that issue, but if there is no issue, it's going to show this. If there is no issue, it's going to show you this. That means the contents of the table. So right now, as you can see, we have been able to bring in our CSV file into our pgadmin or our Postgres server. So now let's verify that. So click on Netflix test, on schema, then table. So now it's currently not showing anything because you are here to refresh it. So let's refresh. As you can see, now it's showing our table in this database, Netflix database here. We have been able to create our database and also bring in our CSV file with the aid of this DBeaver. Let's proceed to connecting to our database from VS Code here. So we need an extension to be able to connect to our database on the pgadmin. So we no longer need this. So let me quit this. Now head over to your extension and search DBcode. So this DBcode will give you a Jupyter-like notebook interface. That means it works similar to a Jupyter notebook interface. And also it gives us the ability to create charts from our query. It currently contains SQL editor and as well as database connectors. So you don't need to worry about downloading a particular extension for a particular database. And so these are the database that you can currently connect to. So you have the Postgres, MySQL, SQL Server, SQLite, as well as NoSQL servers. So that's that. So we are currently installing the extension. Okay, it is currently installed. So now you can see this database icon here. So just click on this. We have downloaded the extension. Now we need to connect to our PostgreSQL server. So click on Add Connection. So then select your server. So as you can see, we have different type of database connectors. So and you also have the NoSQL as well as data warehouse, the cloud-based and the likes. Click on PostgreSQL. Since you are trying to connect to a PostgreSQL server, click on this and then our connection name. So since this is going to connect to all the whole database on our PostgreSQL server, it's going to connect to all these databases. The connection name is going to be, let's name it as database, and the connection type, which is the connection driver, is PostgreSQL as we select from the beginning. So our local host is going to be local host. So it's going to check for connection here. Okay, I made a mistake here. So it's currently saying the server on this port 5432, which is the port of PostgreSQL. And then, so for this username, so our username is still Postgres. And the password is the password is set while installing the database. On this part here, just click on refresh. And it's going to load the whole database in your PostgreSQL server. So if you select either of them, so let's select Netflix test and click save connection. So now let's see our databases. So as you can see, it's currently connected to all the whole database, irrespective of the specific database we selected. So this is like a bug on the DBcode extension, but you don't need to worry much about it. It will still give us what we want. So now let's go and create our SQL statements. So from here, our desktop, plus sign, so test.dbcode, don't forget the extension, dbcode, and click enter. Okay, now so click on this plus code here. So as you can see, it gives us a Jupyter-like notebook interface. And so on this connection here, click on this to connect to our Netflix user database. So click on this database and select our Netflix test, and then select schema 3 and public. So that's that. We are currently connected to our Netflix user database. So let's test this. Select star or record from Netflix users. So this is our table. So select this and let's limit this to 10 and run this. So as can see, we are able to connect to our database here. So let me show you how to bring in the chart. So let's quickly do an analysis here. So let's group this country by watch time hour. Country, watch time hour. Don't forget your comma. From our Netflix user, then group by country and order by this, Control C, Control V. So let's format this properly. So Control A, Shift Alt F. So format it properly. Aggregation type. So sum as Control C, Control V. And let's sort it in descending order. Hold Shift Alt F. So let's run this and see. Okay, so that's that. UK has the most watch hour in terms of sum. So let's put this on the chart. So click this box here. And guys, click on the results. Then scroll to chart range. And then let's use column charts. Okay, so that's that, guys. So let's input the data label. Edit. Customize. Series. And label. Okay guys, so that's that for how to import a CSV file into your PostgreSQL server, and also how to connect DBeaver to the server, and also how to visualize your results on a chart. So have a good day guys. Bye.